Almost 1,000 years ago, in the north of Russia, there was a place where reading and writing were not just reserved for the aristocracy and the clergy. That knowledge was also shared by the common people. Rich and poor, men and women alike, communicated by sending one another letters. That place was Novgorod. It lay at the heart of an independent medieval republic and was one of the most prestigious cities of its day. A legendary past with real-life traces. Today, archaeological excavations have led to the discovery of hundreds of such letters etched into birch bark. What did these letters say? What were the concerns and joys of the inhabitants? What was life in Novgorod the Great really like? From across the centuries, the authors and actors of this ancient story themselves reveal the secrets of their existence.
Димка, ну что ты, в конце концов, ну надо же.
Мама! Ой!
Ну чё
Папка!
From Boris to Nastasia. When you receive this letter, send me a man on horseback, as I have many things to do here. And send me a shirt, too. I forgot my shirt.
Пришли ми человека на жеребце, да пришли сорочицу, сорочицу забыл. И вот про Бориса и Настасью мы узнали еще из одной грамоты, которая имеет такой чисто трагический характер. Борис умер, и жена его, Настасья, пишет такое письмо. Вот Настасья, господину моему брату. У меня Бориса в животе...
Greetings from Nastasia to her lords and brothers. My dear Boris is no longer with us. How, my lords, are you going to take care of me and my children?
The brief summer each year enables the next archaeological mission to continue the research. The scientists have set up their base camp in an old monastery and are now preparing the excavation program.
Суворовский раскоп. Вот так вот.
ну правильно.
Лубяничка, вот тут она была, вот Лубяничка.
Нет.
Valentin Yanin has been directing the research work here for 30 years. A member of the Science Academy and head of the Moscow University Archaeology faculty, he is first and foremost a tireless explorer. Along with his wife Elena and Alexander Korochev, head of the Archaeological Research Center, he has decided to continue excavating an area known as the Troitsky sector. The area was home to the town's great landowners, political and religious leaders, and a painter of icons and frescoes. Perhaps new letters will provide more valuable information about the men and women who contributed to Novgorod the Great's fame and fortune. July 2003. Work has been underway on the Troitsky site for 3 weeks now. The uppermost levels, examined in previous excavations, have been cleared away to reveal archaeological layers from the 12th and 13th centuries. Youngsters from Novgorod schools have traditionally helped out during the digs. They are guided and led by archaeology students from all over Russia and a team of professionals. A full-scale summertime mobilization repeated for the past 70 years. It was in July 1932, inspired by tales of a legendary past, that archaeologists first began to explore and to dig here. Despite ongoing revolution, world war, the collapse of the Soviet regime, economic crisis and severe budget restrictions, work here has continued almost unabated. And the town has become a honeycomb of dig sites, wherever urban development has permitted exploration. Excavation techniques have changed little in 70 years. Tens of thousands of cubic meters of earth have to be crumbled and examined by hand. Birchwood was used to make all manner of objects and is widely present here, with numerous bark fragments buried in the earth. Each one must be carefully examined, but only a few carry any signs of a message engraved into the wood. The third week of digging is about to end, and no voice has yet emerged from the past. But just a few minutes before the day draws to a close, on the back of an earth-covered bark scroll, only a trained and experienced eye can make out the incisions that were made in the Middle Ages. The piece of bark is immediately taken to the archaeological laboratory. Elena takes charge of the new find. They have to act quickly and carefully. The bark scroll owes its conservation to an extremely and constantly humid clay soil, where bacteria cannot develop. But once removed from this environment, its condition will deteriorate and dry rapidly, becoming impossible to unfold and therefore to read.
Чтобы ее расправить, нужно налить горячей воды. Номер 943. Когда была найдена первая грамота, было непонятно, что с ней делать больше 50 лет назад. Но постепенно была выработана методика обработки берестяных грамот. Вот. Начало грамоты. Нет, не начало. Там. Нет, не начало. Я думала, тут написано грамота. Нет, там. Ну, хорошо, буквы видны прямо на белом. Вот. Кто? Посмотрите.
The bark, however, is too fragile to be handled this way. Elena prefers to hand over to a specialist. Fascinated by medieval Russian culture, Vladimir Povetkin is the resident restorer for all the written documents found in Novgorod. Thanks to him, hundreds of engraved bark fragments have delivered their secrets.
Маленьких стеклышек нету больше.
Совсем маленьких?
Да.
In a case such as this, even the smallest piece of bark is important. It may bear part of a letter, which could indicate a word, which in turn may change the meaning of a sentence. Reconstructing the past is a fine art of precision and perseverance, and Vladimir Povetkin is a past master. Based on the pattern of the pieces and of the writing itself, he puts the document together. Little by little, though incomplete, the text takes shape. But what does it say?
Нагаты какие-то упоминают, сколько нагаты.
Да.
Наклонный почерк.
Нагаты вот
Нагаты, конечно, нагаты.
The scientists can barely control their impatience.
И вы держите работать.
Интересно.
Не надо, не дышите, выйдите отсюда.
The discovery of a written document is always an event. It offers an exceptional opportunity to share in a life that was led in the Middle Ages, to be privy to private words written centuries ago. But what words? And what do they say?
Сильно. И куда?
Valentin and the linguists now take their places. The deciphering is a ritual where everyone knows their role.
Причем О.
The words emerge from their distant past, fragile and vague.
То купита.
То купита.
Да ну. Купите, то купита.
Если там не можете, то...
The text is written in Old Russian, in a dialect unique to Novgorod, and uses an ancient form of the Cyrillic alphabet. But the scientists are perfectly aware of every nuance.
Я не. Она уже что-нибудь другое.
Я не надеюсь, что-нибудь такое вот. Такое вот.
Reading is complicated, however, as the words are merged together without spacing or punctuation, and several important pieces are missing.
Не на. Прекрасно. Всем себя не надеюсь.
Soon, however, the subject of the letter is clear. Rye for sale, and the price of barley. The first words speak volumes to the archaeologists. The letter would have been sent by a peasant to his master who lived in Novgorod, the same place the bark was found. A type of correspondence Valentin is very familiar with.
Greetings from the inhabitants of the village on the Chizna and the village of Bratilovo to the Lord Yakov. Come, our Lord, to fetch your grain before it rots. We are now lost, our Lord. Our seeds have frozen. There is nothing left to be sown and nothing to eat. You cannot even agree amongst yourselves, our Lord, while we in the middle are going to die.
A good many letters bear witness to the correspondence between the farm workers on outlying estates and their masters who lived in Novgorod. The rich landowners, known as the boyards, preferred to live at the center of the political arena, where their influence could be brought to bear more effectively. For Novgorod was a republic. Contesting the feudal authority of Kiev from the 11th century onwards, it developed its own original political system, as illustrated in these miniatures inspired by the town's chronicles. Its institutions were based on a popular assembly of citizens and a council of administrators and representatives from different parts of the town. The most important leaders were elected. The office of councillor or even mayor was therefore accessible to the boyards, as long as they lived in the town. Agricultural affairs, often concerning land far from the town, was therefore dealt with by letter and required both peasants and masters to be able to read and write. This was one of the principal factors in the development of literacy in Novgorod.
Сегодня найдено почти 1000 берестяных грамот. Вот за полвека, что прошли, почти 1000 берестяных грамот в одном только Новгороде. Это грамоты, написанные людьми самых разнообразных сословий. Ну, прежде всего, это богатые бояре, но, кроме того, это купцы, это ремесленники, это крестьяне, которые пишут своим господам, жалуясь, значит, на самоуправство старост их, управляющих. Вот. Но очень важный показатель – большое количество грамот, написанных женщинами, потому что грамотные женщины всегда во всей Европе была индикатором очень высокого культурного развития общества. Так что вот изменилось совершенно представление о состоянии культуры в средневековой Руси.
In the rest of Europe at that time, writing was confined to the clergy and a limited literary elite. In Novgorod, it was a common occurrence for the whole population. It was not an easy exercise, however. As Vladimir Povietkin discovers, the incisions take time. The graphic style has to be adapted to the bark and the stylet. And above all, one has to know the alphabet. Basically, one has to learn. It's known that schools existed in monasteries, but the archaeologists have also found evidence in various inhabited areas that some people received training at home. Here we can see some exercises done by a child, who after a few rather laborious attempts apparently preferred to draw a picture. On several other bark scrolls, he even signed his work. His name was Onfim. He was 7 years old and lived in Novgorod at the end of the 12th century.
Понял? Все, хватит, давай. На, вилы, я еще скотину накормлю. Давай. Поленья попадутся, откидывай их, понял? Давай, давай. Ну что? А? Похмелиться, что ли, налить? Дармоед чертов. Давай таскай дрова. Расселся тут. Ой, Господи.
Greetings from Simeon to my sister-in-law. In case you have forgotten, there is rye malt in the cellar. Take some, and some flour, as much as you need for cooking. Concerning the rubles to give to Ignat, give him what he needs. Buy some oil. Buy some clothes for the children, and above all, send the child to someone who can teach him how to read and write.
On the Troitsky dig site, the long and painstaking soil fragmentation work continues. The discovery of the bark letter suggests that a rich landowner, a boyard probably, lived in this area. The archaeologists are now hoping to find other evidence of an appropriately comfortable lifestyle. The proof they are waiting for is built up piece by piece. Alexander Korotkin has managed to reconstruct a woman's shoe. The numerous layers of leather and the way they are assembled indicate an item of high quality. Perhaps the shoe belonged to the boyard's wife or his daughter. Another discovery, at first sight insignificant, confirms the presence of a relatively wealthy population in this area. For Mikhail Petrov, the archaeologist, this small ceramic fragment says a great deal.
Это фрагмент амфоры, сосуда для перевозки различных жидких веществ. Они производились в основном на территории Византийской империи, то есть это импортная вещь, она не местного производства. И, соответственно, попадала она сюда с содержимым. То есть либо это оливковое масло, либо это вино, либо, возможно, какие-то сыпучие предметы, но тоже импортные. И человек, который мог позволить купить себе, скажем так, амфору оливкового масла, был достаточно состоятелен.
Where did Novgorod's wealth come from? How did this small town, isolated in the northwest corner of the continent, come to trade with the Byzantine Empire? The answer lies here, in this river, which runs through the town before embarking on a very long journey. Novgorod is located in the center of a vast network of navigable waters, which predestined the town to a life of trade and exchange. Open on one side to the Baltic Sea and beyond to Europe, the town also had links with the Black Sea and the Caspian, on the frontiers of the Byzantine and Arab worlds. Numerous groups of private merchants were drawn by the freedom that reigned here and opened up trading posts. Among them was the powerful Hanseatic League, which monopolized trade in northern Europe. The products that passed through Novgorod came from Scandinavia, Germany and France, or Samarkand, Bukhara or Byzantium. In the 13th century, as Kiev-led Russia fell under the Mongol yoke, Novgorod was spared and was the only gateway still open towards the west. The town grew wealthier and improved its image. Every evening, the day's finds are taken from the dig site to the laboratory. Everything is recorded and catalogued, and evaluate it for possible restoration work. But before that, there is the magic moment of unwrapping the gifts. And certain objects suddenly seem to transport us back in time. We can imagine this handle almost 1,000 years ago decorating the end of a tool. And these sewing scissors would have been kept together with ancient needles and thread. And we can imagine a house that we can enter as we have the key. A wealthy house, if we can judge it by the quality of these boots kept at the entrance. A house where objects such as a writing implement or a hairpin evoke memories of pagan divinities from pre-Christian time, with figures inspired by ancient mythology. A house where one had time to oneself. And time to play. Whether young or not so young. The house of a boyard and his family, for example.
I have written to you 3 times. What do you have against me that stopped you from coming to see me this week? And I thought you were a brother to me. Did I hurt you by writing?
Nikita.
I can see that you were displeased.
Пиши.
But if you had wanted to, you could have slipped away unseen and come running. Answer me. If in my folly I have hurt you, and you see fit to laugh at me, God will be your judge, as I am his humble servant.
Не встанет. Больно? Больно? Нет? Ка? Смотри, красавица. Красавица моя девочка.
From Mikita to Anne. Marry me. I want you, and you want me. Ignat is a witness.
Yeah.
A new bark scroll has been discovered the day before on the Trotsky dig site. It has just been restored and will now be scanned to make it easier to read.
О, да большая какая. И целая.
Valentin Yanin finds it this morning on Isabel's computer.
На пустом месте. Так, ну вот давайте смотреть, что тут написано. Так, немного. Ага. О, список каких-то долгов. Так, а вот покрупнее.
35-й.
О, ой! У Грицина! У Грицина 4. Боже мой, Грицин. Грицин, а кто еще? А вот Радята. А там Борис. Вот Борис.
Бориса.
Грик. Георгиев староста. Ну, все знакомые персонажи. Грицин, ведь это 30 лет назад мы с ним познакомились. Художник.
Фантастика.
Да.
Ulisse Grecin came into Valentin Yanin's life in 1970. First, one letter mentioned his name, then a second referred to him painting an angel. Several dozen bark scrolls have been discovered that mention Grecin. They are now collected here in the Archaeology Museum holdings. Thanks to these documents, Valentin Yanin has managed to identify him as a contemporary master of icon and fresco painting. He has investigated his life for several years, but one question remains unanswered. In any of the churches of Novgorod, is there any trace today of Grecin's work?
Здравствуйте, проходите к нам поработать.
Спасибо. Так давайте мне работу.
А что вам?
Encouraged by the latest find, the archaeologist decides to resume his research. And for that, he has to return to the basic source material, the bark scrolls themselves. Most of the letters that have been found concern commissions. They describe the paintings he is requested to make on various church walls, but alas, they do not specify the exact location.
Наверх до Иисуса. И целуйте, а Бог за мздою.
Unfortunately, the frescoes are never signed. Some other means of identifying the master's hand must be found, perhaps his own writing.
Ирине, Маруфу, Стефана.
This bark letter was engraved by Ulisse Grecin himself. And something in the way certain words are written is of particular interest to the archaeologist.
Что это за Марфа такая? Оказывается, это ошибочное написание имени Богоматери. По сторонам изображения Богоматери писали вот эти титлы. МРТУ, Матерь Господа, Матерь Теу, греческие. Ну вот, но иногда, значит, люди путали это написание с именем Марфы.
Marofa, the painter's spelling mistake, is a word that Valentin can locate. One of the frescoes reproduced in this old book bears an inscription that is perhaps an unwitting signature, Marofa. But the photos date from the 30s. War soon followed. The Nereditsa church, which housed the fresco, like many other churches in Novgorod, was destroyed by German bombs. Valentin still hopes to pick up the painter's trail. However, as restoration work is almost complete. But what remains of the frescoes inside? intensity and brilliance of the restored fragments are an impressive indication of the splendor of the church before it was destroyed. Some of the finest fresco masterpieces would have been here.
Такой была вся роспись храма от пола и до потолка, и до купола. И так мало от нее осталось. Искать участие главного художника, которым был Алексей Гречин, необходимо именно вот здесь, вот в прорезях. А между прочим, разгадка вот той проблемы, которая нас занимала, она находится в тех местах росписи, которые очень плохо дошли до нашего времени. Вот такой дошла до нас фреска с изображением Богоматери Халкопротийской из доисусной композиции. А вот такой она была даже на черно-белом изображении в довоенном издании. Хагия написано Маруфа. И вот то, что значит, было написано в Деисусе, написано все одной рукой. Одной рукой, повторяю, с теми ошибками, которые были свойственны Гречину.
From the wall to the photo, from the photo to the painter, the evidence is fragile, but it exists. Olysee Grecin came here and painted in this church. Thanks to Valentin Yanin, his name is now part of history.
Тоже мне тут встал. Собирайся, пошли домой быстрее. Если не забудешь. Пошли, пошли, пошли.
Привила, будем драться или как? Иди ты отсюда.
Greetings from the priest to Gretchen. I request that you paint 2 angels on 2 icons above the representation of Christ. I embrace you. God will reward you, or we shall reach an agreement.
Over more than 4 centuries, the art of icon and fresco painting reached unprecedented heights in Novgorod. The town was rich and independent, and above all had many new churches built and paid for by groups of merchants and craftsmen. There was plenty of work for artists who settled here to paint and teach, such as Theophanes the Greek and his assistant, Andrei Rublev. Without breaking from Byzantine tradition, the Novgorod artists developed their own style. The work was more vibrant, the colors more vivid, and the subjects were expressed with greater simplicity. It was also firmly rooted in the concerns and interests of daily life, with less pomp and ceremony. For example, one icon represents the victory of the Novgorodians over the powerful armies of Prince Andrei Bogolyubsky in the early 12th century. The miraculous outcome of the battle was attributed to the protective powers of another icon, brandished before the enemy. Known as the Incarnation, the Virgin had survived the centuries and is still a central feature of life in Novgorod. In the Cathedral of St. Sophia, before the iconostasis, the relic is a source of comfort for those who come to pray for relief from hardship and worldly troubles. Meanwhile, just a few meters away, the Orthodox liturgy is taking place.
Нет, дача есть, огород нет.
Тогда сейчас тебе надо копать огород.
Зачем тебе огород-то?
Будешь сажать капусту.
Work on the Troitsky site continues unabated. Most of the areas found have now been explored in great detail. After 6 weeks, the dig team reached an ancient soil level containing structural elements from the medieval town. Vast square enclosures made from tree trunks mark out the foundations of ancient houses. Between the buildings were narrow passages, small streets covered with wooden planks, enabling pedestrians to move about from one building to another. The scientists today have a very clear idea of traditional Novgorod architecture. Since excavation work began, more than 2,000 houses have been discovered. The new zone the archaeologists are now studying enables them to confirm that the Troitsky sector was indeed a residential neighborhood. The information they discover is added to the results of 70 years of excavation work, revealing many other houses and streets in the town. Through the years, the overall layout of the city has been built up and its social organization defined. It's now possible to conjure up a vision of Novgorod the Great. The main streets of Novgorod were all covered with wooden planks to enable carts to move around without sinking into the ground. Here, at the crossroads of Bolchaya, Proboyanaya, and Chernitsa, behind this fence, Olisei Grechin worked in his studio. Facing the river on the west bank, the fortified silhouette of the Kremlin rose above the 5 domes of the St. Sophia Cathedral. The Great Bridge led to the commercial quarter. There were more than 1,800 shops, stalls, trading posts and warehouses here, made of wood and laid out in rows. At the height of its prosperity between the 12th and 15th centuries, the town had several tens of thousands of inhabitants. But despite its 3 rows of defensive walls, Novgorod would fall. The independence and originality of the state annoyed various Moscow princes as they sought to build an empire. Attacks against the Novgorod Republic were multiplied throughout the 15th century. In 1478, Ivan III launched his forces against the town. The Novgorodians had no hope of resisting the might of Moscow's army. The town was pillaged. Its gold, silver, and precious stones were added to the Tsar's treasure trove. The bell which announced the citizens' assembly meetings, the symbol of their independence, was transferred to Moscow. Trade, too, declined rapidly. Deprived of their freedom of movement, the Hanseatic League closed its trading posts and deserted, followed by other commercial companies. Novgorod was but a pale shadow of its former self. It was here, on July the 26th, 1951, that the first bark letter was discovered among the wooden beams in a soil layer dating from the 14th century. And the history of Novgorod the Great began to emerge from the past. Since then, every year, the whole team comes to commemorate the event. According to the archaeologists, work must go on for several centuries before it can be regarded as complete. And so thousands of other letters, thousands of new voices will contribute to telling us the story of Novgorod the Great.
И падает солнышко в росы, и я такой молодой. Отплясывал лихо и рвался, рубахи большой разворот. Покосы, туманная гладь, и что-то заветное манит, а что до конца не понять.
Раньше мы не знали имен. Мы имели дело с безликими. Сейчас мы говорим, мы раскапываем усадьбу Мирошки Незденича. Мы копали усадьбы Юрия Анцифровича. Когда мы изучаем по вертикали ту же усадьбу, мы узнаем, кто был его дед и прадед, кто были его внуки и правнуки. То есть у нас сейчас история заговорила голосами живых людей. Уже вот эти почти 1000 грамот – это 1000 голосов, которые мы услышали впервые. И вот этот хор голосов, он оживил, так сказать, всю нашу работу.
Здравствуй, боярин.
Здравствуй.
Greetings from Ephraim to my brother Ezekias. You lost your temper without finding out the facts. The abbot would not let me go. I asked him permission, but he sent me with Josaphat to the burgomaster to fetch some mead, and when we came back, the bell was ringing. So why were you angry? I'm still here for you, and I'm ashamed that you speak to me in this way. Whatever you say, you are mine, as I am yours.
Привет, господин. 3.